The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Thexmari of the Zephyrian Empire rose from her crystalline seat. Her 6 arms gestured gracefully as she addressed the assembly of over 40 species, each representing worlds that had joined the peaceful coalition spanning 3 galaxy arms. Esteemed colleagues, Thexmari's voice resonated through the chamber's translation matrix. We face an unprecedented crisis. The Vorthak hegemony has broken the treaty of cosmic harmony. They have declared total war upon our alliance and begun systematic extermination campaigns across the Outer Rim territories. Murmurs of concern rippled through the diverse gathering. The Aquarian delegates' gills fluttered nervously, while the rock-like Terralites shifted their massive forms with worry. For over 3 centuries, the Galactic Council had maintained peace through diplomacy and mutual cooperation. War was a concept most species had abandoned millennia ago. High Chancellor Vexthal, a tall, ethereal being from the Celestial Dominion, floated forward. His translucent form shimmered with anxiety. The Vorthak possess military technology we have not seen in our recorded history. Their biomechanical constructs are immune to our standard defense systems. They convert entire planets into war factories within solar cycles. The chamber erupted in panicked discussions. Representatives exchanged worried glances and hurried communications. The Avian Federation's delegate spread her rainbow wings in distress while the insectoid hive mind's drones clicked frantically. What of our defense fleets? Called out General Crix of the Martian Confederacy, one of the few species that still maintained a standing military force. Decimated, Thexmari replied grimly. The Vorthak's living ships adapt to our weapons in real time. They learn from each engagement and become stronger. Traditional warfare appears futile against them. The massive form of Elder Gorin from the Stone Giants' alliance rumbled to life. Perhaps negotiation remains possible. We must attempt diplomatic channels before considering more drastic measures. 12 diplomatic envoys have been sent. High Chancellor Vexthal responded, his form flickering with sorrow. Their remains were returned to us as trophies. The Vorthak consider peace talks an insult worthy of death. The chamber fell into a heavy silence. For most of these civilizations, violence was as foreign as breathing water. They had evolved beyond conflict, choosing cooperation over competition. Their weapons were designed for defense and deterrence, not destruction. Ambassador Lyran of the Peaceful Garden Worlds stood next, her plant-like form swaying gently. Surely, there must be a solution that does not require us to abandon our principles. We cannot become monsters to fight monsters. The Vorthak will not grant us that luxury, Thexmari replied. They have given us one solar rotation to surrender unconditionally or face complete annihilation. They view our peaceful nature as weakness to be exploited. At the far end of the chamber, in a section reserved for newer council members, a small delegation sat in relative obscurity. They had been silent throughout the entire discussion, observing the proceedings with careful attention. These were the representatives from Earth, a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system on the galaxy's edge. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 15 standard years ago, after their first contact with the Zephyrian exploration fleet. The humans had been classified as a Category C civilization, technologically advanced enough for membership, but lacking the spiritual evolution of older council races. They were considered primitive in their approach to conflict resolution, still maintaining active military forces despite having access to galactic technology. Dr. Sarah Chun, Earth's chief diplomatic representative, finally stood. Her simple appearance contrasted sharply with the exotic forms around her. No crystalline exoskeleton, no floating energy form, no multiple limbs or psychic appendages. Just a middle-aged woman in a plain blue uniform. Honored council members, she began, her voice carrying across the chamber without the aid of psychic enhancement or bioacoustic amplification. Earth requests permission to address this crisis. The chamber's attention turned toward the human delegation with a mixture of curiosity and gentle condescension. Ambassador Thexmari's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Respected Dr. Chun, we appreciate Earth's concern for council affairs. However, this situation requires solutions beyond the scope of younger civilizations. Perhaps Earth's colonies could offer refuge for evacuees. Dr. Chun remained standing, unfazed by the dismissive tone. We believe we can provide more substantial assistance. Earth requests permission to deploy our crisis response teams to affected sectors. High Chancellor Vexthal's form brightened slightly, interpreting this as an offer of humanitarian aid. Your generosity honors the Council, Dr. Chun. We will gladly accept Earth's medical and engineering personnel to assist with refugee operations. With respect, Chancellor, that is not what we are offering. Dr. Chin's expression remained neutral, but something in her tone made several nearby delegates shift uncomfortably. We are proposing to deploy our military assets against the Vorthack threat. The chamber erupted in shocked chatter. The concept seemed almost absurd to most present. Earth's military, while advanced by primitive standards, could hardly match the technological prowess of evolved council races. If the combined fleets of 40 civilizations had failed, what could one backward planet possibly contribute? General Crix leaned forward, his cybernetic implants glowing with interest. The Martians, having evolved from human colonists centuries ago, retained some understanding of Earth's culture. Dr. Chun, while we appreciate the gesture, Earth's fleet consists of fewer than 200 vessels. The Vorthack have already destroyed thousands of our ships. Numbers are not always decisive in warfare, Dr. Chun replied calmly. Earth's military doctrine differs significantly from Council approaches. We specialize in adaptive combat strategies. Ambassador Lyron's fronds rustled with concern. Violence breeds violence, dear human. If we respond to aggression with aggression, do we not become the very thing we seek to stop? Dr. Chun turned toward the plant-like being, her expression softening with understanding. Ambassador Lyron, we share your commitment to peace. However, sometimes peace must be actively defended. The Vorthack have made their intentions clear. They will not stop until every council world is either conquered or destroyed. But surely there are alternatives, pressed Elder Gorin. Perhaps we could retreat to the inner systems and establish defensive positions while seeking a long-term solution. The Vorthack would use that time to consolidate their conquests and grow stronger, Dr. Chen explained. Their biotechnology improves with each absorbed world. Delay favors them, not us. High Chancellor Vexthal flickered thoughtfully. The human's logic was sound, even if her proposed solution was disturbing. Dr. Chun, assuming the Council were to consider your proposal, what exactly would Earth's involvement entail? Dr. Chun activated a holographic display from her wrist device. The projection showed Earth's current military deployment. Sleek, angular vessels that looked primitive compared to the organic curves and energy constructs of Council fleets. Earth would deploy the Terran Defense Fleet along with specialized ground forces. Our ships may lack some Council technologies, but they possess advantages the Vorthack have not encountered. Our military personnel are trained specifically for asymmetric warfare against superior forces. The presentation continued, showing human military doctrine and training footage. The assembled delegates watched with growing unease as humans practiced combat scenarios involving overwhelming odds and impossible situations. These creatures seemed to thrive in conditions that would break most civilized minds. Ambassador Thexmari's multiple eyes focused on the display with professional interest. Your soldiers train for defeat and continue fighting? This seems inefficient. It is highly efficient when facing an adaptive enemy, Dr. Chen replied. The Vorthack learn from victories. They struggle to adapt to opponents who refuse to accept defeat. The debate continued for hours. Representatives voiced concerns about employing such primitive tactics, worried about the precedent it might set. Others argued that desperate times demanded desperate measures. The clock was ticking toward the Vorthack ultimatum deadline. Finally, High Chancellor Vexthal called for order. The Council faces an impossible choice. Accept annihilation or compromise our principles. Perhaps there is wisdom in allowing those least evolved to handle tasks that require regression. The vote was close. 23 species approved the motion, with 15 opposed and 2 abstentions. Earth was granted permission to deploy its forces against the Vorthack threat. Dr. Chen stood one final time. The Council has made a difficult but necessary decision. Earth accepts this responsibility. We will coordinate with Council forces and share intelligence through established channels. Dr. Chun, Ambassador Lyron called out, her voice heavy with sadness. Please remember that we are asking you to do this so that we do not have to. Do not let this change your people into something they should not become. The human diplomat paused at the chamber's exit, turning back with an expression that was difficult to read. Ambassador Lyron, I appreciate your concern. However, you may be operating under a fundamental misunderstanding about human nature. What do you mean? Elder Gorin rumbled. You speak as if war and violence are foreign to us, as if this deployment represents a fall from grace. The truth is simpler and more terrifying than that. Dr. Chen's voice carried across the silent chamber. Humans have been warriors for our entire evolutionary history. We have never truly been at peace. What you're seeing is not humans becoming monsters. It is humans finally being allowed to show you what we have always been. The chamber remained silent long after the human delegation departed. The reality of their decision was beginning to sink in. They had not hired soldiers to fight their war. They had awakened something that had been sleeping, waiting patiently at the edge of civilized space. 3 hours later, long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures near Earth's solar system. The human homeworld was launching its fleet. Not dozens of ships as expected, but hundreds. Vessels that had been hidden in asteroid fields and planetary shadows began emerging from concealment. Ambassador Fexmari watched the sensor readings with growing alarm. The human fleet was not just large, it was enormous. Ships that defied classification appeared on scanners, ranging from massive dreadnoughts to vessels so small they barely registered. Most disturbing were the energy signatures, which suggested weapons technology that should not have existed on a primitive world. "How is this possible?" she whispered her aide. Intelligence reports indicated Earth possessed minimal military assets. The aide's mandibles clicked nervously. Perhaps our intelligence was incomplete, or perhaps the humans were not entirely truthful about their capabilities. As the Terran Defense Fleet moved toward the galactic core, reports began flooding in from human colonies throughout Council space. Populations that had been classified as civilian settlements were suddenly revealing military installations and defensive platforms. What the Council had believed to be a small, peaceful species was unveiling itself as something far more complex and dangerous. On Earth itself, the transformation was even more dramatic. Facilities that had been described as research centers and manufacturing plants were revealed as military complexes. The planet's population, which had seemed dedicated to scientific advancement and cultural exchange, was mobilizing for total war with an efficiency that suggested long preparation. The truth was becoming clear to those paying attention. Earth had not just joined the Galactic Council as a junior member seeking protection and guidance. They had been studying their new neighbors, learning their capabilities, and quietly preparing for the day when their particular skills might be needed. Dr. Chen had been correct about one thing. The humans were not becoming monsters to fight monsters. They had always been predators, simply wearing the mask of civilization when it suited their purposes. The Vorthak had made a crucial error in their intelligence gathering. They had identified the Galactic Council as a coalition of peaceful species and assumed total victory would be simple. They had not accounted for the fact that this peaceful coalition included Earth, and Earth did not send generals to fight their wars. They deployed something far more dangerous, soldiers who had been bred for warfare across millions of years of evolutionary conflict. The Vorthak were about to discover why humans had been the apex predators on their own world, and why they had reached the stars not through peaceful exploration, but through an unrelenting drive to conquer every environment they encountered. The war for galactic civilization was about to begin, and humanity was finally coming home. Admiral Marcus Kane stood on the bridge of the TSS Retribution, watching the tactical display as his fleet emerged from hyperspace near the Kepler 442 system. The former paradise world of the Celestial Dominion had been under Vorthak occupation for 18 standard days. Intelligence suggested the aliens were in the process of converting the planet into a biomechanical factory. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency around him. No dramatic speeches or inspiring music. These were professional soldiers who had trained for this moment their entire lives. The weapons officer, Lieutenant Sarah Torres, monitored her systems with the same focused intensity a surgeon might show during a delicate operation. "Admiral, we're receiving standard Council distress signals from the planet's surface," reported Commander James Wright, the fleet's intelligence officer. "Approximately 2 million civilian survivors in scattered resistance pockets." Kane nodded, studying the enemy positions highlighted on his display. The Vorthak fleet consisted of 17 massive bioships, each roughly twice the size of his largest dreadnought. Their hulls pulsed with organic textures that seemed to shift and adapt in real time. Previous encounters had shown these vessels could regenerate damage and modify their defenses based on incoming attacks. Typical council tactics would involve a direct assault aimed at driving off the occupying force while minimizing civilian casualties, Kane observed to his staff. The Vorthak have probably prepared countermeasures for exactly that approach. Sir, incoming transmission from the flagship Apex Predator, the communications officer announced. Captain Elena Vasquez appeared on the main screen, her scarred face showing the results of previous encounters with hostile aliens during humanity's expansion phase. Marcus, my infiltration teams are in position. We've identified the primary hive complex and mapped their defensive grid. Casualties to deploy? Kane asked. Acceptable, Vasquez replied without emotion. My people know what they signed up for. The Vorthak won't see us coming. Kane turned to his fleet coordinator, Colonel David Park. Colonel, deploy Operation Broken Chain. All vessels are weapons-free. Understood, Admiral. Initiating Broken Chain Protocol. The Terran fleet spread into a formation that would have horrified Council military observers. Instead of the elegant geometric patterns favored by civilized warfare, the human ships scattered in seemingly chaotic positions. Some vessels moved toward obvious engagement zones, while others appeared to retreat or take defensive postures. The Vorthak bio-ships responded predictably, their adaptive intelligence interpreting the human formation as a poorly coordinated attack. The alien vessels moved to intercept what appeared to be the primary assault force while ignoring the scattered ships that seemed to be fleeing. Enemy is taking the bait, reported the tactical officer. Bio-ships are moving into engagement range with our decoy squadron. Phase 2, Kane ordered. The fleeing human vessels suddenly changed course, revealing their true purpose. These were not retreating ships, but specialized penetrator craft designed for close-range combat. As the Vorthak fleet clustered to engage the obvious threat, the penetrators struck from multiple vectors simultaneously. Unlike Council weapons that relied on energy discharges or exotic particle beams, the human ships launched physical projectiles. Tungsten core penetrator rounds accelerated to significant fractions of light speed. The Vorthak bio-ships, adapted to defend against energy weapons, found their organic armor inadequate against kinetic impact. Direct hits on targets Alpha through Delta, Torres reported with satisfaction. Bioship hulls are breached. They're attempting to regenerate, but the tungsten fragments are interfering with their healing process. The Vorthak response was swift and brutal. Bioplasma cannons fired streams of living energy that could dissolve most known materials. 2 human destroyers vanished in the opening salvo, their crews of 300 each dying instantly. Continue the attack, Kane ordered without hesitation. All ships execute ramming protocol if necessary. This command would have shocked Council observers. The humans were not just willing to accept casualties, they were prepared to sacrifice entire vessels to achieve tactical objectives. The crew responded to this order not with fear, but with grim determination. The Vorthak had expected their superior firepower to break human morale after the first losses. Instead, the survivors pressed their attack with increased ferocity. Human vessels damaged beyond repair turned themselves into guided missiles, ramming bio-ships at maximum acceleration. Admiral, the Vorthak are adapting their tactics, Wright reported. They're falling back toward the planet, probably trying to use civilian populations as shields. Kane's expression darkened. They're about to learn why using human tactical doctrine was a mistake. All units, implement Protocol 77 Alpha. Across the fleet, the most disturbing aspect of human military planning revealed itself. Every contingency had been anticipated and prepared for, including enemy attempts to use civilians as protection. The humans had trained for scenarios their own allies considered unthinkably brutal. Down on the planet's surface, Captain Vasquez's infiltration teams struck their targets with surgical precision. These were not conventional soldiers, but specialists trained in what humans euphemistically called unconventional warfare. They had spent weeks infiltrating Vorthak positions, learning enemy patterns, and identifying critical vulnerabilities. The assault on the Hive complex began with simultaneous explosions at 17 different locations. Vasquez had positioned her teams to destroy the biomechanical infrastructure that kept the alien factory operational. Each explosion was carefully calculated to cause maximum damage while avoiding civilian areas. Package delivered, Vasquez reported over the encrypted channel. Primary bioreactors are offline. The factory is dead. Above the planet, the Vorthack fleet found itself caught between two impossible choices. They could continue fighting the human fleet and lose their ground installations, or they could retreat and abandon their invasion force. Their adaptive intelligence struggled to process a scenario where the enemy was willing to accept massive casualties to achieve objectives. Sir, detecting massive energy buildups in the enemy bioships, Torres warned. They appear to be preparing some kind of biological weapon. Kane had been expecting this development. Council intelligence had warned that desperate Vorthack forces sometimes resorted to planetary contamination weapons that could kill all biological life on a world surface. All ships, execute firewall protocol immediately, he commanded. The human fleet's response revealed another aspect of their tactical doctrine that would have horrified their allies. Specialized vessels positioned themselves between the Vorthack bioships and the planet, preparing to intercept the biological attack. These ships carried crews who knew they were essentially on suicide missions. The bioweapon launched, a living cloud of engineered viruses designed to consume all organic matter on the planet below. The human interceptor ships flew directly into its path, using energy weapons to burn sections of the cloud while allowing the contaminated material to strike their own hulls. 5 destroyers and 1 cruiser were lost in the interception, their crews dying horribly as the bioweapon ate through their ship's hulls. But their sacrifice worked. The weapon's potency was reduced to manageable levels, allowing the planet's natural immune systems to neutralize the remaining threat. The Vorthack response to this development was something their species had never experienced: confusion. Every tactical scenario in their biological memory assumed that enemy forces would prioritize self-preservation. The humans appeared to value mission success over individual survival, creating tactical possibilities the aliens could not anticipate. Admiral, enemy fleet is beginning to withdraw, the tactical officer reported. Bioships are retreating toward the system's edge. Kane studied his casualty reports. 30% of his fleet was either destroyed or critically damaged. By Council standards, these losses would be considered catastrophic. By human military doctrine, they were acceptable casualties for a strategic victory. Pursuit course, Colonel Park. We don't let them escape to regroup. Sir, our ships are heavily damaged, Wright protested. Perhaps we should consolidate our position and wait for reinforcements. Kane turned to his intelligence officer with an expression that reminded Wright exactly who he was talking to. Commander, the enemy is wounded and confused. This is when predators strike, not when they rest. The pursuit phase of the battle demonstrated another uniquely human tactical concept. While most species considered warfare concluded once the enemy retreated, humans viewed retreat as an opportunity for maximum destruction. The damaged bioships found themselves harassed by human vessels that should have been seeking repairs. Captain Vasquez had redeployed her ground teams to captured Vorthack shuttles, using them to board retreating bioships. Her soldiers fought through organic corridors filled with defensive organisms, using weapons specifically designed to function in biological environments. Elena, status report, Kane requested. We've captured 2 bioships and are working on a 3rd, she replied, her voice strained from combat exertion. My teams are downloading their biological databases. The intelligence value alone makes the operation worthwhile. Kane smiled grimly. The humans were not just fighting to defend territory, they were actively learning from their enemies. Every engagement provided data that would make them more effective in future battles. The last phase of the Kepler 442 engagement involved something the Vorthack had never encountered: human interrogation techniques. The captured bioship crews found themselves facing questions asked by beings who understood the psychological pressure required to break resistance. Within hours, human intelligence officers had extracted tactical information that Council forces had been unable to obtain in months of analysis. The Vorthack biological imperative to protect hive information was strong, but humans had developed interrogation methods that could overcome even genetically programmed loyalty. Admiral, we've identified the location of the Regional Command Nexus, Wright reported, reviewing the extracted intelligence. It's a heavily fortified biostation in the Arcturus system, approximately 47 light-years from here. Kane studied the tactical data, already planning the next phase of operations. The humans had learned something crucial about their enemy. The Vorthak were not prepared for opponents who escalated rather than de-escalated conflict. "Prepare the fleet for immediate departure," he ordered. "We strike the command nexus before they can adapt to our tactics." "Sir, shouldn't we report back to the Council first?" Wright suggested. "They'll want to know about our success here." Kane considered this suggestion and dismissed it. "The Council wanted us to solve their Vorthak problem. We're going to solve it completely. Political niceties can wait until the job is finished." As the Terran fleet prepared for its next engagement, reports from the battle began reaching other human forces throughout the galaxy. The news spread through covert channels that the Galactic Council had never suspected existed, a communication network connecting all human populations in space. Dr. Chun received the battle report while attending a council emergency session on the refugee crisis. She read Kane's summary with professional satisfaction while listening to representatives debate evacuation procedures for threatened worlds. Dr. Chun, Ambassador Fexmari approached during a break in proceedings. "We have not received official reports from your fleet. The Kepler 442 system has gone silent. Do you have information about the situation there?" Dr. Chun looked up from her reading device with an expression of mild concern. "I'm sure Admiral Kane will file his report when operationally appropriate. These situations can be quite complex." What she did not tell the Zephyrian ambassador was that human forces throughout the galaxy were now mobilizing for full-scale warfare. Sleeper agents in Council territory were activating, civilian facilities were revealing military capabilities, and human colonies were transitioning from peaceful settlements to forward operating bases. The Galactic Council had asked Earth to handle their Vorthak problem. They had not realized that humans interpreted handling a problem to mean eliminating it completely. The gentle species that valued peace above all else were about to discover that their newest allies approached warfare with the same systematic thoroughness they applied to every other challenge. In the Arcturus system, Vorthak command personnel were beginning to receive fragmentary reports about the Kepler 442 disaster. Their biological computers struggled to process accounts of an enemy that accepted massive casualties to achieve objectives, actively pursued retreating forces, and somehow extracted intelligence from captured hive nodes. The regional command nexus began implementing defensive measures based on their experience with Council forces. They prepared energy shields, positioned bioships in protective formations, and activated planetary defense systems designed to repel conventional attacks. They had no concept that their next enemy would arrive already knowing their defensive capabilities, would strike with weapons designed specifically to counter biological armor, and would continue fighting regardless of how many losses they suffered. The Vorthak were about to face an opponent that viewed war not as a regrettable necessity, but as humanity's original profession, refined across millions of years of evolutionary conflict and practiced with a skill that civilized species had forgotten was possible. The Arcturus system's primary star cast an orange glow across the massive biostation that served as the Vorthak regional command nexus. The structure was a living organism the size of a small moon, its surface writhing with defensive tendrils and weapon clusters that pulsed with bioluminescent energy. Around it, 63 bioships maintained protective positions while smaller organisms performed maintenance and patrol functions. High Vorthak Commander Zethkas floated in the command chamber's nutrient bath, its consciousness linked to the station's biological network. Through countless sensory organs, it monitored the surrounding space for threats while processing incoming intelligence from across the sector. The reports from Kepler 442 were disturbing on multiple levels. An entire biofleet had been destroyed by a force roughly one-third its size. More troubling were the tactical recordings showing enemy behavior that defied standard engagement protocols. These humans fought with a disregard for survival that bordered on pathological. Zethkas extended neural tendrils into the command nexus's memory banks, reviewing archive data on species' psychological profiles. The humans had been classified as a minor threat, notable only for their persistence and adaptability. These traits had been considered manageable within acceptable parameters. The data required revision. A pulse of alarm propagated through the biostation's nervous system as long-range sensors detected incoming hyperspace signatures. 47 human vessels emerged at the system's edge, Their angular forms a stark contrast to the organic curves of Vorthack technology. Incoming transmission from a human fleet. Reported Subcommander Vexthon through the neural link. Display. Zeth Cass commanded. The transmission resolved into an image of a human male in military uniform. His bearings suggested command authority, while the scars visible on his face indicated combat experience. Most unsettling were his eyes, which showed no trace of the fear or uncertainty typically displayed by species facing overwhelming odds. "I am Admiral Marcus Kane of the Terran Defense Fleet," the human stated without preamble. "You have 1 standard hour to evacuate this system or be destroyed. This is your only warning." The neural network buzzed with confusion. The human force was significantly outnumbered and possessed inferior technology. The demand appeared to be either psychological warfare or evidence of severe tactical miscalculation. Zethcast formulated its response carefully. "Human commander, your position is untenable. Withdraw immediately, and your forces will be permitted to retreat. Continued aggression will result in your complete annihilation." The human's expression did not change. "You have 59 minutes. The transmission ended, leaving the Vorthack command staff to process this unprecedented interaction. No species in their experience had issued ultimatums while at such a tactical disadvantage. The behavior suggested either insanity or possession of unknown capabilities. "Subcommander, initiate full defensive protocols," Zeth Cass ordered. "Position the biofleet to engage the humans at maximum range. Maintain station defenses at optimal readiness." As the Vorthack fleet maneuvered into attack formation, the human vessels began dispersing throughout the system. Their movement patterns appeared random, lacking the coordinated precision typically associated with military operations. Several ships moved toward the system's asteroid belt, while others positioned themselves near gas giant moons. "Commander, the humans are dividing their force," Vexthon reported. "Their formation lacks tactical coherence." Zethcast observed the enemy deployment with growing unease. Every instinct suggested the humans were making catastrophic tactical errors, yet the confidence in their admiral's ultimatum implied otherwise. The contradiction created a disturbing uncertainty in the command nexus's decision matrix. Aboard the TSS Retribution, Admiral Kane studied the Vorthack defensive positioning with satisfaction. The aliens had responded exactly as human intelligence had predicted, clustering their forces around the command nexus while maintaining static defensive positions. "All units report ready," Admiral Commander Park announced. "Operation Cascade is prepared for execution." Kane nodded, reviewing the tactical display one final time. The human fleet's apparent disorder was actually a carefully planned deployment that would exploit weaknesses in Vorthack tactical doctrine. The aliens' biological imperative to protect their hive structures made them predictable in defensive scenarios. "Execute Cascade," Kane ordered. "All units weapons free." The first phase of the assault began not with the main fleet, but with specialist teams that had infiltrated the system weeks earlier. Hidden among the asteroids, human mining vessels revealed their true nature as mobile weapons platforms. These ships launched swarms of self-guided munitions that had been disguised as mining equipment. The projectiles accelerated toward the biostation using gravitational slingshot maneuvers around various stellar bodies. By the time Vorthack sensors detected the incoming threat, the weapons were already at terminal velocity and impossible to intercept effectively. "Impact in 30 seconds, reported Lieutenant Torres from her weapons station. "Targeting biological power nodes as planned." The munitions struck the biostation's surface in a precisely coordinated pattern. Each explosion was designed to disrupt specific biological functions rather than cause immediate destruction. The station's living tissue began shutting down in cascading system failures as its neural networks overloaded. Zethcast felt the pain directly through its neural connection as critical systems went offline. The command nexus was not dead, but severely wounded, its ability to coordinate defensive operations drastically reduced. "Launch immediate counterattack," it commanded, struggling to maintain focus as feedback pain flooded the neural link. All bioships engaged the human fleet at once. The Vorthack response was swift and overwhelming. 63 bioships moved toward the human positions with their bioplasma cannons charging. Each vessel was capable of sterilizing planetary surfaces, and their combined firepower should have been sufficient to destroy the entire human fleet. The aliens quickly discovered that the human admiral's confidence was not misplaced. As the bioships advanced, they encountered the second phase of Operation Cascade. The human vessels that had positioned themselves throughout the system revealed their true purpose as they launched coordinated attacks from multiple vectors. Enemy ships are employing hit-and-run tactics, Vexton reported. They strike and withdraw before our bioships can respond effectively. Zethcast attempted to coordinate a defensive response, but the command nexus's damaged neural networks were struggling to process the rapid tactical changes. The humans refused to engage in traditional combat, instead using their superior mobility to strike at vulnerable targets before disappearing into the system's complex gravitational environment. Captain Vasquez's infiltration teams chose this moment to reveal their presence aboard the biostation itself. Her soldiers had spent days moving through the structure's organic corridors, mapping its internal layout and identifying critical vulnerabilities. Package delivery in progress, she reported over the encrypted channel. Internal defenses are being neutralized. The biostation's immune system had detected the human presence, but was unable to mount an effective response. Vasquez's teams used weapons specifically designed to function in biological environments, including viral agents that disrupted organic circuitry and enzymatic compounds that dissolved biological armor. The Vorthack command staff found themselves fighting a war on multiple fronts simultaneously. External attacks from the human fleet, internal sabotage from infiltration teams, and cascade failures from the initial munition strike created a tactical situation beyond their ability to manage. Commander, we're losing structural integrity in multiple sections, Vexton reported desperately. The humans have targeted our regeneration nodes. The station cannot repair itself. Zethcast made a decision that would have horrified its superiors, but seemed necessary under the circumstances. Activate the planetary sterilization protocol. Destroy everything in this system rather than allow it to fall to human control. This command triggered the biostation's most terrible weapon, a biological agent capable of consuming all organic matter in a solar system. The weapon had only been used once in Vorthack history, turning an entire star system into a lifeless void. Its activation would kill billions of organisms, but would also eliminate the human threat. Admiral Kane had anticipated this possibility. Human intelligence had identified references to Vorthack sterilization weapons in captured data, and contingency plans had been developed accordingly. All units implement Scorched Earth Protocol immediately, he commanded. The human response to the sterilization threat revealed the true depth of their tactical planning. Specialized vessels that had remained hidden throughout the battle suddenly emerged from concealment, their hulls bristling with exotic weapon systems. These ships launched a coordinated bombardment aimed not at destroying the biostation, but at containing the sterilization agent. Energy weapons designed to disrupt biological processes created a containment field around the station, while kinetic bombardment destabilized its structural integrity. Direct hit on the primary bioreactor, Torres reported. The sterilization agent is being contained within the station's hull. The result was catastrophic for the Vorthack forces. The biostation began consuming itself as the sterilization agent activated within its own biological matrix. The structure that had taken decades to grow dissolved into component elements within minutes. Zethcast felt its consciousness fragmenting as the neural network disintegrated around it. In its final moments, it experienced something unprecedented in Vorthack evolution, the realization that its species might not be the dominant predator in the galaxy. The bioships attempting to defend the station found themselves caught in the destruction. The sterilization agent, contained but not neutralized, began affecting nearby vessels. Organic hulls dissolved, while biological crews died in agony as their cellular structure broke down. Admiral, enemy fleet is attempting to retreat, Commander Wright reported. 17 bioships are fleeing toward the system's edge. Kane studied the tactical situation with cold calculation. Standard military doctrine would suggest allowing the survivors to escape and report the defeat. This would spread psychological warfare while conserving human resources for future operations. Kane was not operating under standard military doctrine. All units pursue and destroy ordered. No survivors. The human fleet's pursuit of the fleeing Vorthack forces demonstrated another aspect of their tactical doctrine that would have horrified Council observers. While civilized species considered warfare concluded once an enemy retreated, humans viewed retreat as an opportunity for maximum damage. The bio ships, designed for assault operations, were poorly suited for evasion. Human vessels, optimized for multiple tactical scenarios, quickly overtook their targets. The resulting engagement was less a battle than an execution as damaged alien ships were systematically destroyed. Captain Vasquez's teams had successfully evacuated the dissolving biostation, bringing with them terabytes of intelligence data extracted from the command nexus's biological memory banks. The information included tactical protocols, strategic objectives, and, most importantly, the locations of other Vorthack command facilities. Elena, status report. Kane requested as the last enemy vessel was destroyed. Complete success, Admiral, she replied. We've obtained intelligence on 17 additional target systems. The Vorthack command structure is more extensive than Council intelligence suggested, but it's also more vulnerable than they realized. Kane reviewed the captured data with professional interest. The intelligence revealed that the Vorthack invasion was not a spontaneous act of aggression, but part of a systematic campaign to conquer the galaxy. Multiple species beyond the Council were under attack, and the scope of the threat was far larger than initially understood. More importantly, the data showed that Vorthack tactics relied heavily on intimidation and psychological warfare. Their biotechnology was impressive, but not invulnerable. Previous victories had been achieved primarily because their enemies had been too horrified by Vorthack brutality to mount effective resistance. Commander Wright, prepare a tactical assessment for Fleet Command, Kane ordered. Include recommendations for expanded operations. Sir, expanded operations? Wright asked. Surely the Council will want to review our progress before authorizing further action. Kane turned to his intelligence officer with an expression that reminded Wright of humanity's predatory heritage. Commander, the Council asked us to handle their Vorthack problem. We're going to handle it completely. Half measures in warfare lead to future conflicts. The Admiral's statement reflected a fundamental difference between human and Council approaches to conflict resolution. While civilized species sought to minimize violence and restore peace as quickly as possible, humans understood that incomplete victories often led to renewed aggression. As the Terran fleet prepared for departure, automated systems began transmitting the battle's results to hidden communication relays throughout the galaxy. Within hours, human forces across multiple sectors would receive detailed intelligence on Vorthack capabilities and vulnerabilities. The aliens had made a crucial error in their strategic planning. They had assumed that defeating Council forces would eliminate organized resistance to their invasion. They had not anticipated that one member of that Council possessed military capabilities specifically designed for total warfare. Dr. Chun received Admiral Kane's preliminary report while attending another Council emergency session. The representatives were debating evacuation procedures for worlds in Vorthack territory, still operating under the assumption that military resistance was futile. Dr. Chun, High Chancellor Vexthal, approached her during a break. We have received fragmentary reports suggesting human forces have engaged Vorthack positions in the Arcturus system. Do you have additional information? Dr. Chin reviewed the battle summary on her personal device before responding. Admiral Kane reports successful completion of his primary objectives. The Arcturus command nexus has been eliminated along with its supporting fleet. The Chancellor's energy form flickered with surprise. Eliminated? The entire command structure. Yes, Chancellor. No survivors. The simple statement created a moment of silence that stretched uncomfortably long. Vexthal struggled to process the implications of complete tactical victory against an opponent that had devastated Council forces. Dr. Chun, perhaps it would be advisable for human forces to coordinate more closely with Council military command, the Chancellor suggested carefully. We want to ensure that operations remain within acceptable parameters. Dr. Chun considered this request with the same neutral expression she had maintained throughout the crisis. Chancellor, I'm not sure you understand the nature of what you've authorized. You asked Earth to deploy military assets against an existential threat. My people are doing exactly what you requested. But surely there are diplomatic considerations. Chancellor, Dr. Chen interrupted gently. The Vorthack declared total war on the Council. They refused all diplomatic overtures and threatened complete annihilation. You cannot simultaneously ask for military salvation and expect diplomatic niceties. Vexthal's energy form dimmed as the reality of the situation became clear. The Council had unleashed something they did not fully understand and might not be able to control. The humans were not conducting a limited police action, but a campaign of total extermination against the Vorthack threat. In the deepest regions of space, other Vorthack command nodes were beginning to receive reports of the Arcturus disaster. For the first time in their species' history, they were experiencing something their biological psychology had never evolved to handle: the fear of being hunted. The supreme Vorthack Overmind floated in the deepest chambers of the core nexus, its massive consciousness distributed across a biological structure that spanned an entire asteroid field. For the first time in 3 million years of evolution, the Overmind experienced something approaching uncertainty. Reports from the outer sectors painted an impossible picture. Human forces were not merely resisting Vorthack expansion, they were systematically hunting down and exterminating command structures across multiple systems. In 6 engagements, not a single Vorthack survivor had escaped to provide detailed tactical intelligence. The Overmind extended neural connections to its primary tactical nodes, seeking understanding of this unprecedented situation. The humans appeared to possess capabilities that defied initial intelligence assessments. More disturbing was their apparent willingness to accept massive casualties to achieve objectives. Primary node, HFY. Analyze available data on human military doctrine. The Overmind commanded through bioelectric pulses that traveled across organic neural networks. Overmind, the data is fragmentary. HFY responded, its consciousness flickering with uncertainty. Human tactics appear based on concepts our behavioral models cannot predict. They prioritize mission completion over survival in ways that suggest severe psychological deviation. The Overmind processed this assessment with growing concern. Vorthack's strategy relied heavily on psychological warfare, breaking enemy morale through demonstrations of overwhelming power. The humans seemed immune to this approach, treating casualties as acceptable costs rather than decisive factors. What is the status of our expansion into Council territory? The Overmind inquired. Overmind, 17 systems have fallen silent. No communication from command nodes in those sectors. Biofleets dispatched to investigate have not returned. We estimate complete loss of forces in affected regions. The magnitude of these losses was staggering. In less than 20 standard days, the Vorthack had suffered more defeats than in the previous century of expansion. The humans were not just winning battles. They were achieving complete tactical victories that left no survivors to learn from the encounters. Prepare contingency protocols, the Overmind decided. If the humans cannot be defeated through conventional means, we will demonstrate the consequences of opposing our expansion. The Order activated dormant bioweapons scattered throughout Vorthack territory. These devices have been seeded on conquered worlds as ultimate deterrents, capable of sterilizing entire star systems if triggered. The Overmind had never needed to use them before, but the human threat was unlike anything in its experience. Meanwhile, Admiral Kane stood before a holographic display showing the galaxy's spiral arms, now marked with red indicators representing confirmed Vorthack positions. His fleet had grown substantially as human forces converged from across Council space, revealing the true extent of Earth's military preparation. Admiral, we've received intelligence from deep reconnaissance teams, reported Commander Wright. The Vorthack have a core command facility in the Draco sector, approximately 300 light-years from the galactic rim. The structure appears to be their primary strategic coordination center. Kane studied the tactical data with professional interest. The core nexus was defended by over 200 bioships and countless smaller organisms. More concerning were the energy readings, which suggested weapons capable of destroying entire fleets. What's our estimated force requirement for a successful assault? Kane asked his staff. Captain Vasquez, recently promoted to Fleet Tactical Coordinator, reviewed her analysis. Conservative estimates suggest we need at least 300 vessels to ensure success. Current available forces total 147. Kane considered this assessment with the same calm expression he had maintained throughout the campaign. Captain, your estimates assume conventional assault tactics. What about unconventional approaches? Sir, the core nexus is too well defended for infiltration operations. Our usual tactics won't work against a target this size. Kane turned to his intelligence staff, already knowing the answer to his next question. Do we have definitive intelligence on the structure's critical systems? Yes, Admiral, Wright replied. Captured data from the Arcturus facility included detailed schematics. The core nexus is essentially a living organism, but it has several biological vulnerabilities that could be exploited. Prepare Operation Event Horizon, Kane ordered. We're going to kill their brain. The plan that emerged from human tactical planning would have horrified every council species. Rather than attempting to defeat the core nexus through superior firepower, Kane proposed to destroy it using its own biological nature against itself. Human biotechnology specialists had been studying captured Vorthack organisms since the campaign began, learning how their biological systems functioned. This research had revealed a critical vulnerability. The aliens' biotechnology was susceptible to specific viral agents that could cause catastrophic system failures. Admiral, Operation Event Horizon will require us to get within close range of the target, Vasquez pointed out. Casualties will be extremely high, possibly total. Kane reviewed the mission parameters one final time. The operation would require the entire human fleet to penetrate the core nexus's defenses, deliver a biological weapon to its core structure, and hold position long enough for the agent to take effect. Survival probability for participating vessels was estimated at less than 15%. All ship commanders, prepare for fleet conference, Kane announced. Within hours, the captains of 147 human vessels gathered via holographic link. These were professional military officers who had trained their entire lives for exactly this type of operation. As Kane explained the mission requirements, none of them expressed concern about the casualty projections. Questions? Kane asked after completing his briefing. Captain Maria Santos of the destroyer Wolverine raised her hand. Admiral, will we be maintaining communication blackout during the approach? Affirmative, Captain. Once we enter the target system, all vessels will operate under radio silence until mission completion. Understood, sir. My crew is ready. The responses from other commanders were similarly professional. These officers understood that warfare sometimes required ultimate sacrifice to achieve strategic objectives. The mission was dangerous and likely fatal, but it was also necessary to end the Vorthack threat permanently. Dr. Chen received notification of Operation Event Horizon while attending what had become a daily council emergency session. The representatives were now debating whether to attempt negotiations with the Vorthack despite their previous refusal of diplomatic contact. Dr. Chen, Ambassador Thexmari approached her after the session. We have been reviewing reports from human operations. The scope of your military activity appears to exceed our initial authorization. Dr. Chen reviewed the tactical summary on her personal device before responding. Ambassador, could you clarify what you mean by exceeding authorization? The Council asked Earth to address the Vorthack threat. Admiral Kane is doing exactly that. But surely complete extermination was not the intended solution, the Zephyrian diplomat protested. There must be room for negotiation, for finding peaceful resolution to this conflict. Dr. Chen considered this suggestion with the patience she had maintained throughout the crisis. Ambassador, the Vorthack rejected all diplomatic overtures and threatened to annihilate every council member. What exactly would you like to negotiate? Perhaps terms for their withdrawal from council territory. Some kind of non-aggression agreement. The Vorthack have demonstrated that their agreements are worthless, Dr. Chen replied. They broke the Treaty of Cosmic Harmony and began systematic genocide. What makes you believe they would honor any new agreements? Thexmari's mandibles clicked with frustration. Dr. Chen, your people are conducting what appears to be a war of extermination. This goes against every principle the Council represents. Dr. Chen set down her reading device and looked directly at the alien diplomat. Ambassador, let me explain something about human psychology. When someone threatens to kill our friends, we don't negotiate. We eliminate the threat completely. The Vorthack declared total war on the Council, which includes us. This means they declared war on humanity. But surely there are limits. No, Dr. Chen interrupted firmly. There are no limits when fighting for survival. You asked us to save your civilization. We're doing that. The method may disturb you, but the alternative is extinction. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the Galactic Council's Emergency Monitoring Center. Long-range sensors had detected massive energy signatures throughout Vorthack territory, suggesting the aliens were preparing some kind of devastating response to human attacks. High Chancellor Vexthal's energy form flickered with alarm as he addressed the assembled representatives. Council members, we are detecting the activation of what appear to be planet-killing weapons across 17 star systems. The Vorthack may be preparing to destroy conquered worlds rather than allow them to be liberated. The chamber erupted in panicked discussion. The prospect of billions of deaths on worlds throughout the galaxy was beyond the comprehension of species that had evolved past such concepts. Several representatives suggested immediate negotiation to prevent the catastrophe. Dr. Chen listened to the debate with growing impatience. These well-meaning beings still failed to understand the nature of the enemy they faced. The Vorthack were not a civilization that could be reasoned with or deterred through diplomatic pressure. Chancellor, she said, standing to address the assembly, I believe Admiral Kane anticipated this possibility. Human forces are prepared to respond appropriately. Dr. Chun, surely your admiral cannot prevent the destruction of entire star systems. Elder Gorin rumbled from a section. Elder, you continue to underestimate human military capabilities. Admiral Kane has been planning for contingencies you haven't considered. What Dr. Chun did not tell the council was that human intelligence had identified the Vorthack doomsday weapons weeks earlier. Admiral Kane had already dispatched specialist teams to neutralize the devices before they could be activated. The operation required human soldiers to infiltrate heavily defended positions and disable weapons that could kill billions. It was exactly the type of impossible mission that human military doctrine was designed to accomplish. Captain Lisa Rodriguez led one such team through the organic corridors of a Vorthack bioweapon facility on the planet Zirion 7. Her 12-person squad carried equipment specifically designed to disrupt biological systems, including viral agents that could neutralize the doomsday device's organic components. Package delivery in progress, she reported over encrypted channels. Approaching primary bioweapon core now. The facility's defensive systems had been designed to repel conventional attacks, not infiltration by specialists trained in biological warfare. Rodriguez's team used their understanding of Vorthack psychology to exploit weaknesses in the alien defensive mindset. Charges placed and armed, reported Sergeant Chun, her explosives specialist. Bioweapon will be permanently disabled in 30 seconds. Similar scenes played out across multiple star systems as human special operations teams simultaneously disabled Vorthack doomsday weapons. The coordination required to accomplish this mission revealed the true extent of human military preparation. They had been planning for this scenario since joining the Galactic Council. The Overmind experienced something unprecedented as reports flooded in about disabled weapons and destroyed facilities. For the first time in its species' history, it felt fear. The humans had anticipated Vorthack tactics and prepared countermeasures for every possible escalation. Primary node, Kethvar, what is our current strategic position? The Overmind demanded. Overmind, we have lost the ability to threaten civilian populations. Human forces have systematically eliminated our deterrent capabilities. Additionally, long-range sensors indicate a massive human fleet approaching the core nexus. The Overmind processed this information with growing alarm. The humans were not content with defensive victories or limited objectives. They were conducting a campaign of total warfare aimed at eliminating the Vorthack as a strategic threat. Activate all remaining biofleets, the Overmind commanded. Converge on the core nexus for final defense. If we cannot expand, we will at least survive to fight another day. What the Overmind did not understand was that survival was not an option the humans intended to offer. Admiral Kane's fleet was approaching not to capture or defeat the Vorthack command structure, but to destroy it completely. The final battle for galactic civilization was about to begin, and humanity had already decided how it would end. The core nexus dominated the asteroid field like a cancerous growth, its biomechanical structures spanning hundreds of kilometers. Organic towers pulsed with bioluminescent energy, while defensive tendrils writhed through space, each one capable of destroying capital ships. The assembled Vorthack fleet numbered over 400 vessels, their living hulls forming protective layers around the central command structure. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the TSS Retribution, watching as his fleet emerged from hyperspace at the system's edge. 147 human vessels faced an enemy force nearly 3 times their size, defending a fortress that had never been successfully assaulted. Admiral, all ships report ready for Operation Event Horizon, Commander Park announced. Biological weapon is loaded and prepared for deployment. Kane nodded, reviewing the tactical display one final time. The mission was simple in concept, but nearly impossible in execution. The human fleet needed to penetrate the Vorthack defenses, reach the core Nexus's central chamber, and deploy a viral agent designed to cause catastrophic biological failure throughout the structure. Open fleet-wide communication, Kane ordered. Throughout the human fleet, captains and crew members paused their preparations to listen to their admiral's final briefing. These were professional soldiers who had trained their entire lives for missions that civilized species would consider suicide operations. Today we end the Vorthack threat permanently, Kane began, his voice carrying across the communication channels. They chose to make war on our allies and threaten to exterminate peaceful civilizations. We are here to ensure they never make that choice again. The admiral paused, looking out at the massive enemy formation arrayed before them. Some of you will not survive this engagement. That is not a failure. It is the price of victory. Your sacrifice will protect billions of innocent lives throughout the galaxy. On ship after ship, human crews acknowledged their understanding with quiet determination. These were not glory seekers or fanatics, but professionals who understood that warfare sometimes demanded ultimate sacrifice to achieve strategic objectives. All ships, execute Event Horizon, Kane commanded. Weapons free, maximum acceleration. The human fleet surged forward in a formation that would have horrified Council military observers. Rather than maintaining protective distances or coordinated fire patterns, the vessels accelerated directly toward the enemy at maximum velocity. Their approach suggested either tactical insanity or supreme confidence in their ability to penetrate superior defenses. The Vorthack response was immediate and overwhelming. Bioplasma cannons fired streams of living energy, while organic missiles launched from defensive positions throughout the asteroid field. The space between the opposing fleets filled with lethal energy as hundreds of weapons targeted the advancing humans. First wave impact in 30 seconds, reported Lieutenant Torres from her weapon station. Enemy fire density is exceeding projected parameters. Kane watched as the first human vessels entered the kill zone and vanished in brilliant explosions. The destroyer Falcon disappeared in a ball of bioplasma, while the cruiser Manchester broke apart under concentrated missile fire. 12 ships died in the opening moments of the engagement. Continue the attack, Kane ordered without hesitation. All ships maintain maximum acceleration. The surviving vessels pressed forward through the devastating defensive fire. Human ships that suffered critical damage turned themselves into guided missiles, ramming enemy positions at relativistic velocities. The tactic was brutally effective, each ramming attack destroying Vorthack vessels far more valuable than the human ships sacrificing themselves. Captain Vasquez commanded the specialist team responsible for delivering the biological weapon to the core Nexus's central chamber. Her heavily modified assault ship Predator carried the viral agent, while its escort vessels cleared a path through the enemy fleet. Elena, status report, Kane requested as the Predator maneuvered through the chaotic battle. Approaching primary target, Admiral, she replied, her voice strained from combat stress. Estimate weapon deployment in 40 minutes if current conditions hold. Kane knew those conditions would not hold. The Vorthack were beginning to adapt their tactics, concentrating fire on ships that appeared to be heading for the core Nexus. The enemy was learning to prioritize targets based on human behavior patterns. The battle's second phase began as human vessels reached close combat range with the Vorthack fleet. Traditional space warfare doctrine called for maintaining distance to maximize defensive advantages. Humans had never paid much attention to traditional doctrine. Boarding actions commenced as human assault teams used magnetic grapplers and directed explosives to attach their ships to enemy biovessels. These were not attempts to capture ships, but operations designed to plant internal explosives and viral agents that would destroy the organic craft from within. The Vorthack crews found themselves fighting in their own corridors against enemies trained specifically for biological warfare. Human soldiers used weapons designed to function in organic environments while employing tactics that exploited weaknesses in alien psychology. Admiral, we're detecting massive structural failures throughout the enemy fleet, Wright reported with satisfaction. Internal sabotage operations are exceeding projected effectiveness. Kane observed the tactical display as dozens of Vorthack vessels began showing signs of catastrophic system failure. The humans had weaponized their understanding of alien biology, turning the enemy's organic technology into a vulnerability rather than an advantage. The core nexus itself began responding to the threat by extending massive defensive tendrils toward the approaching human ships. These organic weapons were larger than most vessels, capable of crushing attack craft or injecting lethal biotoxins through hull breaches. Captain Sarah Wong of the destroyer Mongoose encountered one such tendril as she escorted Vasquez's approach to the central structure. The organic weapon wrapped around her ship's hull and began secreting acids designed to dissolve metal armor. "Admiral, the Mongoose is compromised," Wong reported calmly, initiating self-destruct to clear Predator's approach vector. The destroyer exploded in a brilliant flash that severed the defensive tendril and created a temporary gap in the core nexus's defensive grid. Wong and her crew of 200 died instantly, but their sacrifice allowed Vasquez to advance closer to her target. The Overmind experienced each death as a direct assault on its consciousness. The neural connections linking it to the fleet carried feedback pain as vessels died or suffered critical damage. More disturbing was the realization that the humans were winning through sheer determination rather than superior technology. Primary node Kethvar, redirect all available bioships to protect the central chamber, the Overmind commanded desperately. The humans must not reach the core consciousness. Overmind, our fleet is suffering unprecedented losses, Kethvar responded through failing neural connections. Human tactics are causing cascade failures throughout our defensive network. The Overmind extended its consciousness directly into the battlefield, attempting to coordinate defenses through direct mental control. This level of involvement was dangerous, exposing the central intelligence to potential feedback damage, but the situation left no alternatives. Admiral Kane recognized the change in enemy tactics as Vorthack forces began moving with improved coordination. The aliens were adapting to human methods, learning to counter boarding actions and ramming attacks. The window for mission success was closing rapidly. "All ships, implement final protocol," Kane commanded. "Maximum effort, disregard safety parameters." The order released human forces from all operational limitations. Ships with damaged engines overloaded their power systems for increased speed. Vessels running low on ammunition used their hulls as weapons. Crews exposed to lethal radiation continued fighting until biological failure prevented further action. The final protocol represented the ultimate expression of human military doctrine, the willingness to accept any cost to achieve mission objectives. Every ship in the fleet became a potential weapon, every crew member a potential casualty in service of strategic victory. Vasquez's assault ship reached the core nexus's outer defense perimeter with only 3 escort vessels remaining from her original squadron. The massive biostructure loomed before them, its organic surfaces writhing with defensive activity as immune systems attempted to repel the approaching threat. "Biological weapon is armed and ready for deployment," she reported, beginning final approach to target coordinates. The central chamber lay deep within the core nexus, protected by layers of organic armor and defensive systems. Reaching it would require the Predator to penetrate kilometers of living tissue while under constant attack from the structure's immune response. The ship's hull began dissolving as bioacids ate through the armor plating. Emergency systems struggled to maintain life support, while the crew worked frantically to deploy their weapon before the vessel was completely consumed. "Weapon deployment in 90 seconds, Vasquez announced, her voice steady despite the desperate circumstances. "Hull integrity failing, but we'll reach the target." Kane watched the tactical display as the Predator disappeared into the core nexus's central mass. The ship's signal faded as organic interference blocked communication, leaving the Admiral with no way to confirm mission success or failure. The viral agent deployed at the exact moment the Predator's hull failed completely. Vasquez and her crew died as bioacids flooded their compartments, but their weapon was already spreading through the core nexus's biological network. The Overmind felt the infection as a burning sensation that spread throughout its consciousness. The viral agent was specifically designed to attack Vorthack neural tissue, causing cascade failures in biological computers while disrupting the mental connections that held their civilization together. Primary node, HFY. Implement emergency consciousness transfer. The overmind commanded as its awareness began fragmenting. Preserve core intelligence in secondary facilities. Overmind, secondary facilities are under attack by human forces throughout the galaxy. HFY replied desperately. There is no safe location for consciousness transfer. The realization struck the overmind with terrible clarity. The humans had not simply attacked the core nexus. They had simultaneously assaulted every significant Vorthack installation across multiple star systems. This was not a single battle, but the climax of a coordinated campaign designed to eliminate the entire species. Admiral Kane received confirmation of the viral agent's deployment as bioluminescent patterns on the core nexus began flickering erratically. The massive structure was dying, its organic systems failing in cascade reactions as the weapon spread through its neural network. Admiral, detecting massive energy buildups throughout the target, Torres reported. The structure appears to be going critical. Kane had expected this possibility. Dying Vorthack installations sometimes experience catastrophic power failures that could destroy everything within several light years. The explosion would kill every human ship remaining in the system, but it would also ensure the complete elimination of the enemy command structure. All ships maintain position and continue attack, Kane ordered. Mission completion takes priority. The human crews responded to this command without protest. They understood that retreat would allow some Vorthack forces to escape and potentially rebuild their civilization. Complete victory required them to witness the enemy's total destruction, regardless of personal cost. The core nexus's death throes lasted 17 minutes. Bioelectric storms raged across its surface while internal explosions tore through kilometers of organic tissue. The structure's consciousness screamed across multiple dimensions as billions of years of accumulated knowledge dissolved into chaos. When the final explosion came, it vaporized the entire asteroid field and everything within it. Admiral Kane, his fleet, and the last remnants of Vorthack civilization vanished in a burst of energy visible from neighboring star systems. Dr. Chun received the mission report while attending the Galactic Council's emergency session on post-war reconstruction. The representatives were discussing plans for rebuilding damaged worlds and providing aid to refugee populations. None of them had expected the war to end so suddenly or so completely. Dr. Chun, High Chancellor Vexthal, approached her with his energy form flickering uncertainly. We have received reports suggesting that both human and Vorthack forces have been destroyed in the final engagement. Can you confirm this information? Dr. Chin reviewed the tactical summary transmitted by automated systems throughout human space. Admiral Kane's fleet had achieved total victory at the cost of complete annihilation. The Vorthack threat was eliminated, but 147 ships and their crews were gone. Chancellor, I can confirm that Operation Event Horizon was successful, she replied. The Vorthack command structure has been completely destroyed. The threat to Council civilization has been eliminated. But at what cost? Ambassador Lyran asked, her plant-like form trembling with emotion. Your admiral and his entire fleet made the choice they trained their entire lives to make, Dr. Chun completed. They understood that some victories require ultimate sacrifice. The chamber fell silent as representatives struggled to process the concept of deliberate self-sacrifice for strategic objectives. These beings had evolved beyond such brutal calculations, choosing cooperation over competition in all aspects of their civilization. Dr. Chun, Elder Gorin rumbled quietly. Your people have saved us all, but perhaps we never truly understood what we were asking of you. Dr. Chin considered this observation with the same neutral expression she had maintained throughout the crisis. Elder, you asked Earth to handle your Vorthack problem. We handled it. The methods may have disturbed you, but the results speak for themselves. High Chancellor Vexthal's energy form brightened as he addressed the assembled representatives. The Council owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. Through their sacrifice, countless billions of lives have been preserved throughout the galaxy. What the Council members did not fully understand was that the war's end was not merely the result of one final battle. Human forces throughout the galaxy had simultaneously struck every significant Vorthack installation, ship, and outpost in a coordinated campaign of total extermination. The species that had threatened to conquer the galaxy was gone. Not defeated, not contained, but completely eliminated as a strategic threat. Humanity had responded to the declaration of total war by delivering exactly that: total war with no possibility of enemy recovery. Dr. Chun excused herself from the session and made her way to Earth's diplomatic quarters. There, she composed a message that would be transmitted to human colonies throughout the galaxy, informing them that the mission was complete and normal operations could resume. The communication was brief and professional, containing no references to glory or heroism. Admiral Kane and his crews had done their job with the same systematic thoroughness humans applied to every challenge they encountered. The galaxy was safe, the threat was eliminated, and humanity could return to its patient observation of galactic civilization. 6 months later, memorial services were held on Earth and throughout human space for the crews lost in the final engagement. The ceremonies were attended by representatives from every council species, many of whom were still struggling to understand the magnitude of what had been accomplished. Ambassador Fexmari spoke at the primary memorial, her words translated for human understanding. "We asked you to save our civilization from destruction. You did more than we requested. You eliminated the threat so completely that future generations will never know how close we came to extinction." The memorial concluded with the reading of a simple statement that Admiral Kane had filed before departing for his final mission. "The price of peace is eternal vigilance. The price of civilization is the willingness to defend it against those who would destroy it. We pay this price gladly, so that others may live in the peace we have purchased." The Galactic Council voted unanimously to establish a permanent memorial at the site of the core Nexus's destruction. The monument would serve as a reminder that even the most peaceful civilizations sometimes require the services of those willing to embrace necessary violence. Humanity had shown the galaxy something it had forgotten in its evolution toward perfect peace. Sometimes the preservation of civilization required the presence of those willing to become monsters so that others could remain innocent. The humans had not sent generals to fight the Council's war. They had deployed something far more dangerous: soldiers who understood that the ultimate victory sometimes required ultimate sacrifice, and who were prepared to pay that price without hesitation or regret. The galaxy was safe, and humanity quietly returned to watching the stars, waiting patiently for the next time their particular skills might be needed.